I'm Ryan Reyes.
And I'm Dominic Angel.
And together we are Un Poquito
Podcast.
Un Poquito Podcast. Exploring Latin culture little by little.
Thank you for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you are notified whenever we drop a new episode. Also, leave a comment. Comments make you sexy.
Also, watch to the end because it helps us out.
If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, make sure you follow, rate, and review. 5 stars, please.
And if you're looking to support us, we have a Patreon starting at $2, and you get access to early episode drops and bonus content. We also have a Discord. It's free to join, and you can find the link in the description below.
And it's popping off of the Discord.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Josh the American is in there. We're setting up all kinds of servers for Minecraft and for Animal Crossing and all this stuff that I'm committing people to without joining any of it. Discord's tight. Join us. It's free.
Join us.
What was the last thing?
Also, if you want any suggestions or want to hit us up, you can email us at unpoquitopod@gmail.com. I read all of them. He reads some of them.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at unpoquitopod@gmail.com. Wait, fuck.
Okay, so we're starting off these episodes now with an icebreaker question. So for the guests that we brought today, first of all, let's introduce them. Introduce yourselves.
Introduce yourself. That's how you introduce a guest,
We're
Ryan.
going to introduce you guys. How about you guys do it instead?
Hello, myself.
All right, for
To
the people
introduce-
that are watching or listening that are very confused, who we brought in our body doubles for this episode.
Damn it, he beat me to it.
I think I got it.
Fuck you.
Hello?
I thought he was mine.
Joining us for the first time today are our illustrious brothers, Anthony.
Hello.
And,
I'm Anthony, the oldest brother.
oh, that's a good intro.
I mean, it's pretty clean and simple.
Diego. Diego's the baby.
Hi, I'm Diego. I'm the youngest of the bunch. That's all I got.
Yeah, Diego doesn't talk a whole lot, so he's going to be very boring this episode. Just so you guys know. But to get around that,
We'll put like a digital parrot if he doesn't talk.
we got some icebreakers for I mean, first, let's do an icebreaker.
Yeah, let's start it off. This comes from Usagi Pie at our Discord. She asks, starting from the oldest all the way to the youngest, you don't really get to answer. How did you feel the first time you heard you'd be getting a new brother?
That was...
This fool wanted to ice me out from the beginning, dog.
I said, who's this new blood coming on my turf here?
I feel like mom should be the one telling this story.
Yeah.
This is all allegedly, but
He has to say that for the lawyers.
told me that when on my birthday, this fool was all mad and like sitting on the porch, fucking pissed as fuck that anybody was encroaching on his turf. And
I had to Pablo Escobar you, man.
Yeah.
I had to be done.
and then my birth story itself is its own story, but that's not what we're talking about. When I returned home and like they imagine a newborn baby and they're like, oh, look at it, your little brother. Guess what this motherfucker did to me?
I said, the hell it's not. Bing. I poked him in the eye.
He poked me in my eyes, and now I have keratoconus in both of them. So,
What did you learn?
What did I learn? Don't be born, I guess. Fuck.
So what was your guys' reaction to me?
We were excited for you. Anthony almost named you.
What was my name going to be?
I think there was this PBS. You're going to have two names, Jack and Ass. I was reading. I used to watch this children's show on PBS,
Right.
called The Puzzle Place.
Yeah, Puzzle
Puzzle
Place.
Palace. Puzzle Place.
It's Puzzle Place.
And there was a character named Sky there, and I was like, that would be perfect for this guy.
This
Guy
guy
was
was dope.
Native American.
Yeah. But they ended up naming him Ryan after the.
Well, it's a good thing because
Yeah.
here at Poquito, our logo is "Don't Fly." Our slogan. I said logo.
Yeah. So it's almost, they named you Ryan, spelled Rian. It's almost Rain, which is kind of closer to Sky, but I won't take credit for that name.
That was a fun story. We'll tell that story again when we have like mom or dad on. So how did I feel about Diego?
How did you feel about being a brother when you were born?
I was cool about it until I realized that I wasn't like allowed to sit in the baby chairs anymore because they were reserved for him.
Because you were like 12.
only 3 years older than that. But I remember I specifically remember I used to be the one that sat in like those, they're not strollers, but they're like just little chairs for the baby to sit in while you.
Oh, like that? Like a high seat or a high chair?
No, it's more recreational. It's kind of like a swing.
What the heck is
A
that?
baby swing.
Oh, yeah, like a baby
Yeah,
swing.
just like a little chair for the baby.
A pendulum.
We only had the one, and so I couldn't sit in him anymore because there was a new baby. I got pissed about that.
Yeah.
But everyone loved Diego.
Yeah.
Everybody's still
It was the fan favorite.
I will say, I don't know if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable with me saying this, we can cut it out. But my favorite part about it was he was the chubbiest baby of the four of us. So his nickname was Gordo.
I believe that as my real name for years.
He did not realize that was not his real name until he was like 3.
Yeah, when he had to sign he opened a bank account. He's like, why won't they let me open a bank account?
No,
This
it's
is
not
my
a joke.
real
That's my
name."
name.
Hey, yo, Ma, what's happening here?
That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So that's Ryan's take on the fourth child. What about you?
Yeah, you're up next.
I mean, with Ryan, I feel like with Ryan, we were both very excited. And then when Diego came, I just had so much going on in my life. I wasn't really paying attention.
We're over it. Like,
I was
when
over
You
it.
just started
6.
soccer.
Yeah, I was starting 2nd grade probably. I was learning about Native American Indians probably. I was worried about climate change at that time. So I was like, well, a new human on this earth?
Good luck.
Good luck, dude.
Good luck, man.
I could see
You better
him,
be a
like,
duck or
Ma,
something.
I don't know if we can economically like adjust to this new kid. He's gonna be more gas spent. Like just rating how well we did as a household.
Our carbon footprint is going through the roof right now, dude. By bringing another person into this family. I did used to do that to mom, though. I would like read the ingredients on foods and stuff, and I'm like, this is not part of a nutritional diet for somebody my age.
And she was
Just like
like,
a
well,
little
why don't you
businessman?
get a job and pay for this stuff?
Because I'm 6. That's your like just immediately snapping back. That's not my role.
It was interesting growing up. I always forget that you guys are 3 years apart because we're 3 years apart. Like we kind of grew up in pairs though. Like it was always like me and Anthony, and then Ryan and Diego. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's because so we have like several cousins, and the way that the age groups formed, it made sense for me to be with the younger kids all the time. And
Yeah.
so
We're really cliquey in our family.
yeah, and so we would automatically be paired that way anyway, and then like that just became how it like rolled out when we started getting our own rooms and stuff. Me and Diego shared a room for like 12 years.
yeah, I guess that's what it was that we shared a room and then you guys shared a room.
It was fun though. Except for that time that Elmo got stuck behind the wall. That scared the crap
How
out of me.
did Elmo get behind the wall?
I don't know.
What were you guys doing to it? They had
I
to crawl
remember
through the walls.
I was like 6 or 7, but I had a Tickle Me Elmo. This is like 2nd or 3rd generation Tickle Me Elmo. So it's a very popular model. And there's a default mode that you turn on when you have it on display. And I put it on default by accident. And I don't remember why, but it was like taken away from me. It was like putting your guys' room on your dresser. And eventually somehow it fell behind your guys' dresser and everyone forgot about it. And then like 2 days later, because it was on default mode, it just started randomly turning on. And we couldn't figure out what was happening. Just like one day, nobody was in your room and we heard a and we couldn't tell where it was coming from. And it scared me. I never wanted to touch that toy again.
Yeah.
That was the year I got into
terrifying.
horror movies, and it scared the crap out of me.
I think in a lot of ways, like we growing up, the way that we grew up, it was kind of like, I mean, I know we grew up in Paris, but I feel like it was a lot of the times it was like just the four of us. Like, I feel like the people comment all the time on like, oh, the Reyes brothers, or like you guys have like a close, like people are like, oh, you guys are actually friends with each other. Like other friends that we've had that have siblings, they're like, I fucking hate my sister or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we moved around a lot growing up. Like we moved,
that's
we
true.
moved like every year and a half sometime. Or I don't know. We moved as frequently as like 18 months from one place to another place.
Right.
Yeah, so we'd only, if the neighbors had kids, we'd be friends with them, or at least try to be. But if not, we always just hung out with each other.
And then when it got to the point where we started moving in to different neighborhoods, and like the kids would try to come talk to us, and you're like, "Don't fall in love with me, doll.
You don't want no part of this.
I'm just
life.
gonna
I'm
break
gonna
your heart."
break your heart.
But yeah, because we used to go to school. We used to live in like San Bernardino, and then we would go to school in Baldwin Park, and it was just like only being around each other because we didn't have any neighborhood friends, and then the friends that we had at school, we like didn't visit.
Oh yeah,
Right.
and also we went to the same school for the whole time. Like we begged our mom to go to the same school, but we live like 40, 50 miles away.
I will say this because mom will have a fit if I don't point this out, because last time we talked about this, she was like, it was my idea to keep you guys in the same school because I didn't want to. So she was a good mom, and she didn't want us to be away from our friends.
Yes,
We love you.
which we agree that was awesome of her to do. But then like nobody ever visited us because they're like, let me come over, and we're like, yeah, we're like an hour and a half away.
Yeah,
They said, yeah, never mind.
Yeah. It was also because we were in the like pairs that we were in, it was a minute before like me and Diego started interacting with you guys on like a friend level.
yeah. It's
Like we did stuff together. We used to watch like comedy specials together and specific movies together, but we didn't start like hanging out like by choice until after like Diego graduated.
Yeah. It's funny because Ryan and I do this podcast together now, but honestly, I was not his friend until like we were both in our 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember like going in because in high school I joined the football team, and I grew up like super introverted, and like that kind of helped me kind of bring out a little bit.
Pull the mic closer to your face.
And so I remember like since I was in the football team, I would be out of the house a fair amount, and then every time I was here it was literally just to like do my homework, eat, and sleep, and then I'm back to school or football. And then I don't remember which one of you said it, but I remember one of you were like, "Bro, it's like you're a roommate here that just doesn't like you just don't care about us." It's like, my bad, dude. I'm busy.
Why don't you ask me to hang out once in a while? Maybe
Yeah.
you don't care.
That was so yeah, because my favorite moment of the four of us was when last year when Dominic, Diego, and I were driving to El Paso to visit family there, and that's when Dominic found out that Diego's super into Slipknot.
I had known this. I'd see. Here's the thing. I have to point this out because Ryan does this thing.
Where I try to create moments.
No, not where you try to create moments. Where you. This is the
now?
fucking mustard thing all over again. All right.
Which so if anyone needs to
I
know
can
what really
understand.
happened, the
Oh,
mustard
fuck.
thing. Yeah.
See, I have fucking proof here now. You son of a bitch.
I want to make clear that I have since then apologized like every time. It's been
Ryan
brought
does
up.
this thing. Everybody fucking loves Ryan and they believe every goddamn word that comes out of his mouth, but he'll just like decide that something is a fact. And even if he doesn't believe it himself, and he'll just say it with like such conviction that people are like,
He'll Google Wikipedia about it, and if it's wrong, he'll change it.
Yeah, I started a Wiki Plus about Dominic eating mustard.
Yeah.
I don't eat mustard, you fucking dick. But anyway, so Ryan started this whole shenanigans with mustard,
Yeah.
and I fucking hated mustard, right?
That was the whole point of the rivalry. It was a condiment rivalry. We were in high school, and to piss each other off, I hated ketchup, but I liked mustard. So I would hide packets of ketchup in this guy's shoes, in his backpack. I think one time I put a bunch under the toilet seat, so when you sat down, they would explode on your legs.
Yep,
And
and it didn't get me. It got someone else.
Yeah. But that's the origin story of the mustard packet.
Yeah, we used to hide it in each other's stuff. So like we would have lunch together, and then we'd be like, "Ho ho ho! I love you, brother."
It was
like, we're
yeah.
hanging out. We're creating memories. And then meanwhile, the bell rings. We turn around and like that fucking asshole.
We would
know
go
what's
to
gonna
hug
hit
each
him.
other, and we would just like tap each other in the back, but it was just mustard and ketchup
Yeah.
taped to the back of our bags.
Yeah, and then you'd
Nobody
pull out
got
your
it.
science book and then open to page 36, and it would be ketchup.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So which team were you on, ketchup or mustard?
I was ketchup.
And I was
So you put
mustard.
ketchup in his stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was team. Were you not just listening?
You
We
both
just said
kept
the
saying,
whole
You
story.
both kept saying ketchup.
Mustard.
Mustard.
Here we go. We got equilibrium now.
You know
You
who
could have been
loves
relish,
ketchup?
Ryan. You could have been relish.
Could've
I
been.
relish the
relishing.
thought. Do you know who absolutely was obsessed with ketchup? Diego. Remember your favorite snack when we were living in Colton?
Again, before you continue, I think this goes back to what Dominic was saying, where you just decide something is a fact and just roll with it.
No. Because we asked him what he was eating, and he said this out loud.
It's
Ketchup
just
sandwich.
I didn't even have to tell them.
There's something I
It
want
did
to
happen, but also I
I'm
feel
not
like
denying that it happened.
I'm not denying that I ate 2 pieces of bread with nothing but ketchup in the
actually-
to
middle.
be fair, what probably happened was Diego was just hungry and doesn't know how to make himself food.
Yeah,
This is a hot
I was
pocket,
9,
baby.
and the
Okay,
youngest.
you're 9. I wouldn't have said my age because you.
And
Also, this fool put in a couple noodles in the microwave
Without water.
without water, and then we
'Cause
all
he's
started
gonna-
laughing.
He's going to add it in afterward.
Yeah, he's like, just gonna put it in afterward. He blew
Again.
up that microwave.
It went from everybody being mad at him for almost starting a fire in the microwave to laughing at him for putting it in without water. And like, why did you put water? And he got like real scared and he started crying. He's like, I was gonna put the water in afterward.
You got to cook the noodles and then add the water. That's where all the flavor is.
The water's for all the flavor. Oh, that's so
in my
funny.
defense, I'm the youngest of a whole generation of kids. Everything was done for me.
That's true.
Yeah,
We didn't teach you anything.
Yeah, you're getting mad at me for not knowing anything.
Yeah.
Gen
Dicks.
Z, am I right?
Am I right, everybody? Oh, boy.
Oh man.
So I think there's one thing I want to get cleared up since you're the inventor of facts.
I invented it.
This whole thing is just the
You can
three of
Google
us
that.
taking Ryan to task.
Okay, so there's a story. I remember you telling someone of when you were diagnosed and you're talking to the doctor and they asked you like, oh, so I forget what they asked you, but do you remember what you said as to why you think you had autism?
No.
Okay, so what I remember is I remember you telling the doctor that we used to stomp on your head.
I don't remember that.
And I know you would say that, but I
Probably
just
from all the brain damage from the stomping.
it's probably all the stomping we did. But first of all, we never did that. But I remember you telling someone that we would do that to you. And I just wanted to know if that was true. Like, do you remember that?
I don't remember that. But it's also just because I tell the generalized story of my diagnosis, like the day I received it. So the main fact that I remember for that is like what got us to go to the doctor in the first
Right.
place, which was my mom had just seen the movie Temple, and there's a scene where there's a chandelier on screen and there's a piece missing, and I was the only one that noticed that.
Dang.
Yeah. So that became like the main start of the story. So I remember that. I remember the schizophrenia thing, and then like nothing else from that day.
I feel like we should have known you're autistic from when you called Anthony a backstabber.
Because I stabbed you in the back with a fork.
I feel like me getting that wrong is not the focus of that story.
But it was very funny. Because Anthony threw a fork at Ryan for some reason. Look, we were a bunch of fucking troublemakers.
We're wily kids, man.
Yeah, Anthony threw a fork across the living room, and Ryan turned to dodge it.
I also want to say, because Anthony's a very nice person. But I just realized every story that features Anthony so far makes him sound like a serial killer.
I mean, hey, I got to roll with the facts here.
Ryan was like a turkey out the oven, dog. That food was done.
I said, hey, kid, you're done.
Yeah. It got stuck in his back, and then we pulled it out. And then for like 2 years, he's like, "You're a backstabber because you stabbed me in the back."
That just sounds accurate to me.
So I want to say, yeah, this would be like a stabbing thing, but I don't know. The fact that I threw it, I didn't even think it was going to hit you, to be honest. Also, I was like, how old? Like, what? 8,
I was
9?
like,
you guys can't just
6 or
keep
7.
saying I was at 9 years old as your excuse.
That was a very formative
I
year
do
for
remember,
us.
like, that was the only, for a long time, that was the only year Diego could remember.
Oh,
was when he
Oh,
was
everything
7?
happened when he was 7.
yeah.
It's
World War
like,
II happened
yeah.
when he was 7.
But also, I'll take the heat off of Diego because I used to say crazier shit than that when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I used to we would just be chilling and watching TV, and I'd be like, "You guys remember when I was a TV and I blew up in your face?"
I think he was remembering dreams he had, and he'd be like, yeah, you guys remember when I was like a bat? And I was like flying around and scaring you guys? And I was like, no, I don't remember that, man. Sorry.
It's so weird.
Please pick me up.
I think I just
Trying to go home
repressed
now.
most of that because I have no idea what. I have
Well,
no
you were too
memory.
young at it. I was the youngest at
Yeah.
the time, and I
Yeah.
used to just be like, "You guys remember when I was an elephant and I stomped on you guys?" I think it was a lot of
remember you
me
used
just
to
like
tell that
revenge
story a lot.
fantasies of
Yeah.
like them bullying me, like because I was the youngest. And
You guys thought of weird stuff. I remember. I can never remember why this was the lie you went with. But you guys tried to convince me that the Easter Bunny stole my birthday.
oh, it worked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I was 7. But how old were you guys?
7.
Well, at the
We're
time, I
also
would have
7.
been 10. Yeah, we were all 7 at the time.
It perplexes me. Like, how did the Easter Bunny come out? 'Cause
Exactly.
my birthday's in September. My birthday's in fall.
Exactly. Where?
Of all the holiday mascots to do it,
the Easter
the
Bunny.
Easter Bunny would have done it.
He's got no backstory.
Yeah.
Actually, and then this becomes
Yeah.
autistic mic drop.
We'll save it for the autistic mind drop.
Should we do another icebreaker?
Yeah, we could do another question, unless you guys have any. I mean, while you're looking it up.
My phone was backwards. For the audio listeners, my phone was backwards, and I just stared at it, contemplating my life choices. This is a fun one. So, AK, let me see if they have a longer name. No, it's just AK, asks, what is your most embarrassing story from the each of you?
Oh, man.
So I feel like instead of the individual telling us what they think is their most embarrassing, I think the other 3 should say what was the embarrassing thing that person ever did.
Oh, like an open roast?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what's the most embarrassing thing? We'll start with me so that I'm not like, loading the
Yeah.
gun.
But, yeah.
What's
go
my
for it.
most embarrassing thing? I have
I have one.
not most embarrassing, but it's the funniest story. It's like the thing that makes us laugh the most. I'll say mine first because it's technically not prompt.
Sure.
One time Diego disappeared for like 10 minutes and we found him behind the couch drawing on the wall with a Sharpie. And when we pulled him away, he was writing Ryan is a wiener on the wall.
I didn't know
And that stayed on that wall for like 10 years. It's hard
that.
to get Sharpie off.
Yeah, 'cause I
Drywall.
was like,
It's actually not that hard. We
We found out, yeah, you just put on, you just
just
mark
put
on it with
Expo
with dry erase marker and it comes off.
Oh,
We just liked it there.
Yeah, we actually got a frame for it.
trying to save face, but thanks, guys. All right. So what were you going to say, Anthony?
You were probably 7. you were like 3 or 4. You would do this thing when you were scared. You remember?
I know what he's gonna say. Dominic's brought it up before.
Yeah.
Yeah, say the story.
We were watching a movie.
He's a very
And-
religious child.
We were watching a movie, and it was, I think, The Honeymooners. Or
Oh, it was just the honeymooners.
no, it was. I can't remember. I think it was Gene Wilder ends up being a werewolf. It's something with the honeymoon. It's an old movie. But we had all seen it, and we're like, oh, Ryan, you probably shouldn't look at this because you're going to get scared. And instead of looking away, like you get close, like within like 5 feet from the TV, and we're like, Ryan, you're going to get scared. Come sit down. Like we said that like 4 or 5 times. And you're like, no. And then
No, he didn't even say anything. He would just walk closer.
Yeah.
And he used to do this thing when he would get scared, like he would get excited, where he would start to like stim.
Yeah.
He would do this, like that, like flapping his wings.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't the funny part. To me, what was funny was that we were like, you're going to get scared. You're going to get scared. And he didn't say anything. And so Gene Wilder turns around slowly and then he starts to morph into the werewolf. And then it's like, he's looking right at Ryan at this point because Ryan's right in front of the TV. And Ryan's like, ah! He just screams, ah! And that was funny.
He jumps from the TV screen. He didn't touch the floor. Like he jumped.
But in real time, it was like this. Ryan, you're going to get scared. Come sit down. Ryan, you're going to get scared. Ah! Like that.
He jumped from the TV into the couch.
Yeah.
It was like watching like a Tom and Jerry cartoon where it's like.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't fly. We face our fears. Here on Poquito.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he was on to something early on. All right.
Do you remember when he broke his guitar?
Oh, yeah.
All right. It's supposed to be one from each of us. We can do a second round, but let's move on real quick.
One from each of us.
It is one each. That was my one.
Anthony kept telling Ryan that he was going to tune his guitar because he got an acoustic guitar for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan just thought, like, to tune a guitar, it needs to be as tight as possible. And so Anthony was like, I'll tune it. Because you were playing bass at the time. Like, you had a guitar.
Yeah.
Like, you knew how to tune it.
Right.
And you're like, I'll tune it. But he couldn't wait. He was just, like, wanted it to be tuned. So he, like, took the guitar himself and went into his room. And we were, like, watching TV or playing video games or something. And it was, like, quiet. It was just whatever. And then all of a sudden you hear, boing! Oh, no!
Picking on the autistic kid. I get it.
Oh, no! My guitar! It's broken! And then we came in, and Ryan was just sitting there on the bed, and his guitar was like a V shape with a straight.
Backwards.
The strings were
The
like
strings were straight across, like this is the guitar.
Never again.
Don't worry, we all have embarrassing
I'm sure I have
things. Yeah.
something.
I thought of one, which was one time Dominic didn't want to wait for hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, yeah.
So he
ouch,
put like
yeah.
4 in a Tupperware with water and microwaved them. And, you know, for anyone who's interested in chemistry and physics,
Let this be a lesson. For
when
you.
a liquid is in a container and then it's suddenly evaporated, it creates a gas bubble.
Ass bubbles.
So at first glance, Dominic was successful in this experiment.
Yeah, we were impressed.
The outside had stiffened into its weird butt cheek texture, and he.
Wow.
It's a reference to the old
Ryan,
podcast.
people don't know that you said that
I
biting
think egg
eggs
whites
taste like butts.
Look like butt cheeks. So he'd peeled the egg, and he was like, and I believe beforehand, 1 or 2 people were like, "You shouldn't do that. You don't know if that's gonna work. You might burn the Tupperware." And it worked, and he was very confident in this moment. And he bit into the egg, and the gas released suddenly, and all you heard was a loud, and then like his face was red and bruised. The egg had exploded in his mouth.
Yeah.
I
It
burnt
was-
the skin of my lips.
Yeah, he looked like Phantom of the Opera for like 3 days. That's mine for Dominic.
I think what's funny about that is that I didn't know that's how that happened. I assumed because I was the youngest, so like I, I I don't know how old I was, but I was still like probably in
You're
kindergarten.
7.
Diego just thought you were a
But,
fan of theater.
No, because when that happened, I just assumed that everything that I saw you guys do was just how things were done. So when I saw him do that, I was like, oh, that's all right, that's normal. And I just see him put salt on a hard-boiled egg, and then I'm like, what? I guess we can't do that anymore.
That was so funny too. Like me and Diego were younger, so we were like, "Oh, that makes all right. We're gonna try that next." Like, never mind. Just immediately.
Oh, that reminds. This is a different story, but this has nothing to do with anyone. Oh, maybe it doesn't matter. One time, my mom went out. She was going to school. She was taking night classes. So my grandma had agreed to watch me and Ryan. I think Anthony was out. Diego was out at our tia's house or something. And so we used to do this thing where we would make like soup, or we would make juice, like lemonade or something. We would make it and then put it in a freezer bag and then freeze it. That way, like, if you wanted lemonade, you just pull out the bag, put it in a pitcher, and like heat it up a little bit, or like put water or whatever. And so we were watching and I was like, "Oh, Grandma, I want some lemonade." So like Grandma was like, "Oh, I think your mom left some in the freezer." And so she like got it. She got it. And she took a bag out from the freezer, put it in a pitcher, put water in it, and like stirred it up and poured herself a big glass of it and took like a huge gulp, like gulp, 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 gulp. And she was like, we're like, "What happened?" She was like, "It's onions."
Oh, that's so funny. All right, who's next?
I don't think I've been spoken of yet.
I thought
I'm sure I've got some.
there's a few with Diego. I had one in my brain and it just like. You guys have any?
I remember once when we were real little, it was just me and Anthony at the time, back in the golden days before, these guys came around. But
Yeah, we're sitting.
it wasn't,
Here, right?
yeah.
We'll edit that part out.
We'll edit that part out. What? We're going to edit. Yeah. You guys are going to be outside of that. Anyway. No, there was one time where we were really little. Oh, wait. I know. I remember another one of Ryan. Well, real quick, this is when we were living in Texas, and Ryan, it's like he would, when he was quiet, you knew something was going on. Like when you didn't know where he was or what he was doing, he was getting into something. And one day we were like all waiting for my mom to serve us breakfast, and it was us, and then our 2 cousins were there, and Ryan was like, we were like, "Where's Ryan? Like, get him so he can come and eat." And we found him. He was in my mom's room. And he had her lipstick, one of her lipsticks, and he was like he was just like covering one of the cabinet in her like her dresser. It had like these cabinets, and so he was just covering it with lipstick. And my mom was like, "Oh my God, Ryan!" And then he turned around, and it was like fucking that footage of Bigfoot, because he was facing away from us the whole time. And then he turns to the camera, and then his fucking whole face is covered red with lipstick. He's like, "What?"
I have a story that might top that.
Oh, okay.
Very identical in its start.
Is that the one with his eyebrows?
No, but you can tell that one next. Diego was maybe 5 years old. Same thing. We couldn't find him. We like heard some like muffling coming from like the back room. This is when we were living at the Baldwin Park house with the Alice and everything. And I think I remember like Mom's initial thought was the thing that happened with me, like if he got my lipstick again. So she thought Diego was playing with the lipstick, and we walk in and we see Diego and he's holding the lipstick, but when he looks up, it's all over his mouth like the Joker, and there's bite marks in the lipstick. He'd been eating her makeup the whole time.
I actually remember that.
Yeah.
I just want my insides to be pretty like the outside.
Oh my gosh. That was so funny. What was yours?
Oh, well, I don't know. There was one where Diego just shaved off half of his eyebrows. and then
I don't know what exactly that was, but I remember because we lived in the Baldwin Park house, and at the time we still had the double decker beds, and I remember I like being like in enclosed in space. I still do, and I would like kind of I was still pretty small, so I kind of shimmy myself into the little nook area between the wall and the bed frame, and just like rest right there. And apparently, I roll around a lot in my sleep. So I guess, and the wall was similar to this one, but it was a lot rougher.
Oh, like a stucco wall kind of thing.
I think
so you just rubbed.
That was the thing,
I
is, like,
I woke up one time and just it was gone, and everyone's like, "What did you do?" I didn't do anything. What are you talking about?
We legit, like, for years thought he just said that to hide himself from embarrassment, but it's like, no, he just, like, rubbed it off.
Yeah, like my face would just rub up against the wall, and like it took half my eyebrow off. And I remember, I don't know who it was, but somebody was like, "What did you do?" It's like, "What?"
It's also funny because when Diego wakes up, he's like, just have one eyebrow.
Just a surprise.
He wanted to look inquisitive. He shaves the other one, so this one, like, pops out more. All right, it's Dominic's turn. No, we
Embarrassing
did
stories?
Dominic. It's
Anthony.
Anthony's
Yeah.
turn. What embarrassing
Diego?
stories about Anthony?
Embarrassing stories about Anthony.
I have a bunch. I don't remember them.
Thanks for sharing that.
Anthony was always the cool guy, though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Not true. Dang. What? Oh yeah. I mean, that's how I met one of my best friends actually. I was in second grade, and I fell asleep on the bus. And when I woke up, we were passing my stop, and I was like, "Oh dang! Well, maybe they'll go around." But I was the only one in the bus, and then the bus driver got to the high school, and I was like, "Oh hey, we missed my bus stop," and she's like, "Oh my god!" Scared. So she's like, "Oh my god, well, where do you live?" And I told her, and she's like, "Okay, well, I got to drop these kids off first, and then we'll go back and drop me off." So, yeah, that was it. And then it turns out that the bus driver was my friend's mom. I found out later in middle school. So that's how I met them. That was weird.
I know, like, the rest of that. Like, Mom tells that story.
Yeah.
That's not an embarrassing story. He was very popular on that bus.
Wait, what happened?
He was, like, the most popular kid on that
Mom,
bus.
you're not on mic. All the girls were like, "Oh my god, he's so cute."
I mean, I don't know.
Anthony doesn't really have a lot of embarrassment. I mean, he probably does that he's embarrassed, but I feel like Anthony tended to be the one that was like the popular kid, the cool guy. Look at his fucking mustache.
When I was 7, I had the craziest mustache.
Right? Anthony has been the only one where he's looked like this his entire life. Like he hasn't, like his face hasn't changed except for facial hair.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It's not easy.
Anthony was it's funny. I feel like Anthony. Ryan and I always say this, where it's like Anthony's the funniest person that we've known. Like he doesn't do stand up or anything, but I think a lot of where we get like our humor and a lot of the stuff, like especially like music, where people think that I listen to a lot of music, and like even on like the Discord and stuff, they're like, oh, what are some music recommendations, or like what this and that, and I'm always like, like 40% of these are just straight up like stuff that my brother showed me.
Yeah, I don't know.
I did think of a story, and if you don't
Yes.
like it, we can cut it out. But so for a while, we lived like close to our old middle school, and at that time we had 2 dogs, like a Shih Tzu. What would you call a mustache? Like a terrier mix, like a Scottish terrier mix, and a little Chihuahua named Cassius. And they fucking hated each other
This is funny.
so much. Like every morning, they'd sleep on the same bed, but for whatever reason in the morning, one of them would wake up, and that would, for some reason, piss off the other one, that the other one was
still-
alive. So they would just start fighting each other. And one day, they were like sleeping on Anthony's chest, from what I remember. And you would just hear like they were about to start fighting, and out of nowhere they go crazy. And then the next thing we hear at like 6 a.m. is, "Ah! Ah! "Ah!" We all run, and Anthony's just like yelling at these dogs
So,
right now.
yeah, I can elaborate. So I was half asleep, and I knew what was about to happen, like we all did. And he's right. They would just go out of their way to beat each other up. Like it was that. I've never seen two other animals be as on site. It was like Tom and Jerry level of animosity.
The irony is, this sounds like you're describing a Cassius Clay fight.
I'm just saying that's what it was. And so they were on Dominic's bed, and you had Cassius on your bed, and then the door opened because someone was going to take these two to school. I think it was you, but anyway,
This is what happened.
door opened.
Ryan asked.
Mustache comes through, jumps on the bed, and they just go at it. And I get up, and I'm half asleep, so I'm still in like my dream state, and I'm staring over Dominic's bed, not moving. I'm just staring. I'm just like, ah, ah. But in my brain, I was like, knock it off, you guys, stop it, stop fighting. But I was just like, ah.
Which, by the way, literally, all you had to do was pull one of them away and throw them out the door.
Of course, but in my head, I was already doing that. But it didn't. I just obviously didn't do it. And so Dominic was like, "Oh my god!"
That's what he wakes up.
He didn't even think about the dog. His face was like just filled with horror. I was like,
That's so funny.
Anthony had a blanket draped over him like if he was
Yeah.
in Phantom of the Opera.
I remember my point of view of that was so like they said, Ryan had gone in to ask one of them to give us a ride. This was like barely the sun was coming up, so it was really dark out. And Ryan and I are in our room, and literally right next to our rooms are right next to each other. And I'm like getting my stuff ready. I remember asking Ryan to like, hey, can you go ask one of them to give us a ride?
"That's what happened."
I see Amorcito run into the room, and I was like, oh crap, is Cassius in there? He's like, yeah, he's on Dominic. He's like laying on Dominic's face.
That's what it was.
And then I hear the dogs growling like, oh crap, we gotta go grab him real quick. And then I just hear a blood curdling scream, and I run into the room, almost breaking their door, and then I just see this dude in the middle of his room in his underpants with a giant blanket, just I was like, what is going on? Like, where's Dominic? What happened to
Me
Dominic?
and Diego were like looking at each other.
Here's the best part.
We
That's the
thought there
part,
was
yeah.
like bloody gore,
Yeah.
like we thought Anthony saw something
Well, I remember
that
what
he
we
will
thought.
never come back from. Like
Like we heard that noise, we thought that they were fighting on like one of your guys' faces, and that's what was making you scream.
Here's also the best part of the story. I was screaming. Not one person said or did anything.
we just
Nothing.
watched this
Because I was just standing
stranger.
there screaming at the top of my lungs, and nobody said anything. And then the dog stopped fighting. Everyone literally laid back down and went to sleep.
We didn't know what to have.
And by the time I came to, I was just like, and then everyone started laughing. That was funny.
we were because I was gonna get up to get the dogs. Like
Yeah.
it's the thing is that it happens so frequently. Like you do it absentmindedly, where you just get up and like pick up the dog and like literally throw him out the room. And like so I like got up to go do that, and then I hear Anthony screaming. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Right, Diego comes in, and we're both like, what's going on? Like, what is Anthony seeing
Yeah.
that is causing him to scream like this? And then finally, like, we kind of snap to, we separate the dogs, and then
I like that the blankets.
Anthony like still fucking like, and he was like, oh, sorry guys, I just wanted the dogs to stop fighting. I'll take you guys in a second. And then he like lays back down, and then me and Diego were like, what? Like,
I
okay.
forgot about the blanket over his head. That
Yeah.
looks so funny. Like he's an oracle seeing the future. One of them's gonna. Oh my god.
I was like freaking Gandalf. Don't fly.
I love even more that like you thought you were speaking full sentences.
I swear I was telling like, knock it off, stop fighting. But
like one of those movies from the zombies perspective. Like, hey,
Yes.
I'm not gonna eat you.
yeah, 100%. That's what happened.
Oh, that was the best. I'm glad I thought of that.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
What's next, y'all?
Well, no, I'm just kidding. Let me pull out another question.
So Ryan and I started doing stand up together. Ryan and I started doing stand up together, but like I feel like a lot of the stuff that we do comes from Anthony and Diego. Like,
Yeah, like individually, how we developed like responding quickly to each other. I got it from talking to Diego all the time. You got it from Anthony.
well, I mean, just like our influences for sure. Like Anthony, I mean, he's the older brother, so he's like cool music first, cool movies, all this stuff. Anthony, we used to do this thing because, like we said, we didn't grow up around friends, so a lot of what we did was Anthony had a job, and so on the way back, we would stop. On the way back from Baldwin Park to San Bernardino, we would stop at like a Hollywood Video, and this is when they were like going out of business.
Right.
So they used to have like, you can rent 5 movies for 50 cents a day.
Yeah. Hollywood Video was like the diet Blockbuster.
Yeah.
They would have like, they're going out of business way before Blockbuster did. So they had like 25-cent rentals. And so we would just get 10 rentals for 2 weeks. And then I'd be like, this one looks cool. Have you heard of this? No. So I would just like, on the weekends, no one was going to come to see us. So we were like, let's just movie it
We're
up.
just watching movies all weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think when I started working in film, or like trying to, like Anthony was kind of right. Like we used to work together a lot, like on film and music stuff, and like just in general, like putting events together. And that's why it was a little bit of a shift when Ryan and I started doing stand up together. I think Anthony had started to work on. You were getting more into photography at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do
I
you?
still think Anthony has like my favorite joke,
Which one?
which is the horny Tarzan joke.
Oh, yeah.
It's my, would you feel comfortable telling it right now?
You probably would tell it better than I would.
I tell it how I remember it, but I think you told it slightly differently.
Okay, so I'm gonna butcher this, but I was dating somebody at the time, and I was trying to find something romantic to say. But so I sent them, "I long for you," thinking it was poetic and whatnot. But also, I was really drunk, so it ended up just being a dick pic, and I was just like, "I long for you," like Tarzan.
Like a horny Tarzan.
Like a horny ass Tarzan.
Oh, that's funny. That's my favorite.
I long for you, Jane. But that was it.
Anthony and I used to, and we want to write more of these. So that's something that's crazy.
Yeah.
So like Anthony does sketch. He's a writer.
Yeah.
Like he's working on a few projects, but he does sketch. But Anthony and I used to have this thing that we swore we were going to turn into a cartoon.
Yeah.
And it was called FM Squared. And it was literally just us.
2 mice DJs.
2 mice that were radio DJs. And so we used to do this thing. There was a squirrel. I forgot his name. There was like a Hot Topic thing. It was like a web series where it was this guy. He did the same thing. That's where we got it from. But he would record himself like ranting on the internet and then speed it up. And it sounded like a squirrel. So then he made this thing. So our version of that was FM Squared. And it was like it was just us like fucking riffing, like improvising this whole thing. But we had so many funny sketches that was like, we had a mobster sketch that we still are like, not, we quote it all the time. Like whenever we go, oh no, my balls. There's a bunch of dumb like sibling humor that I feel like a lot of people wonon't get.
Yeah, we did a lot of creative stuff together. Just even writing, and even when we started doing things like more seriously, we worked on a lot of film projects, like 48-hour film festivals, and we definitely helped each other a lot.
Yeah. What did you guys ever do?
Yeah. What's that voice you guys do? What's that voice you guys do?
I do voices.
No, the voice.
What's the voice, Anthony?
You know what I'm talking about, Diego. I'm just kidding. You don't have to do it.
He was not gonna make you do it.
I don't remember what he's talking. Like I don't have a memory of doing this, but I remember. Was it earlier this year or last year? We all went out to like a bistro in LA or something, and then Anthony was like, "Hey, do you guys remember this voice you guys used to do?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "I swear, like when we still lived on the cliff, you and Ryan would just be like talking like some sort of satanic Elmo, and then
That's exactly what it sounded like.
yeah, and he would just be like, it drove me nuts for for a whole year, just like what monstrosity did these two just learn this from, just like combing the internet trying to figure it out. I have no memory of doing this at all.
The only thing I can think of is that you and I used to like quoting Don Hertzfeld cartoons.
It was
No,
not
it was
Don
not.
Hertzfeld.
You guys would have full-fledged conversations, because I remember, and I knew this was going on, because one of you would ask a question and the other one would like answer, but in this like, the only way I could say it is yes, it was like a baby voice, but like a satanic Elmo voice.
I remember the voice. I'm not gonna do it.
No, 'cause I
it's gonna-
You
can't.
have to do it. We don't know. I
can't
know that
even-
I know
I do-
what you're talking about. I don't remember the voice.
If I do it,
itself.
I think I'm gonna throw up.
If I do it, I'm gonna summon demons here.
Yeah,
It's gonna happen.
demon babies.
Yeah,
I think that's like what started us or me doing voices was we used to do that, and then it was also like there'd be times where all four of us would get stuck on like a catchphrase. Like I can't remember why, but for a long time you guys used to quote Goofy. And it'd be like the most random thing. It would always be out of context. And no one else would ever. Like I remember that. What's that commercial? The Squish Your Head. That was a huge thing between us and Dad for a long time.
Yeah.
And as I got older and my voice like stopped changing, it stayed very high pitched for a long time. That's what like got me interested in like getting good at voices.
yeah. But you guys definitely did voices. And
Because I
there's, like,
do a
one
voice. I don't think it's the one
Yeah.
you're talking about, but I can pinch my throat and make my voice sound really high.
I want to add something. I feel like as it's I feel like it's very interesting. I think even how am I trying to say this? Us, the four of us, have been in a situation where we've remained very close, which I feel like a lot of siblings don't necessarily get the opportunity. I feel like a lot of siblings either like grow up very separate from each other or distant, like emotionally. But I feel like the situations, even though like, you know, with Diego, we've had talks recently. Jeez Louise, ma.
You playing craps over there?
No, like with me and Diego, I know we've had conversations and like where we realized that we didn't necessarily grow up super close, but we have always felt like brothers. Like it was more like not, I guess, not being familiar with each other, but also
Yeah.
Does that
We were
make sense?
brothers, but we weren't friends. That happened later.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
just like not being close.
Like I think at least for me, it's like I see it as like you guys are my family, so it's like it's a given. We're supposed to like care for each
Yeah.
other. I think that's kind of the same sentiment
Mhm.
that most of us share.
Yeah.
So and then like the whole friend thing, yeah, like that didn't develop until fairly recently for sure. But yeah, like I remember growing up, like even though I didn't really know, I didn't really know the two of you all that great growing up, but like I still have like this memory of just like oh okay, like those are these two are like what I should aim for, so, in a sort of way.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you did a bang up job of it. I'm just kidding.
You landed on the podcast. Good job. No, I would always think like this is just I'm the oldest, so I'm like the guinea pig of everything. And I always thought like, oh, we don't have that much in common, which is like a dumb thing. It wasn't until I started dating somebody and their younger brother are 20 years apart and like they're super close, you know? So I was like, oh man, I could have done that the whole time.
yeah, you could have.
Well, I feel like I feel like that's so much distance that it makes sense because like now you have time to like.
Yeah.
Because I feel like especially for us where we were the older ones and we had the exact same interests. And so like growing up and it's like, well, we left high school. Like I always felt guilty for Diego because like when we were going through high school, we were in band and Ryan and Diego had no choice but to come to like see us perform.
Yeah.
But then once it was time for Diego to have like his like orchestra recitals or like his football games, it was like, I gotta make a movie, ma. I can't go to my brother's fucking football game.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that,
It
like,
was.
you turn into like a 1960s.
I mean, there was a
director.
few that we did see, but it was not as much as.
But it was a big to do.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I guess I'll fucking go to this thing.
No, I wanted to go.
Okay, well, I'm the terrible brother then.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't know. It was like the thing because, like you're saying, like I didn't realize it until later. Like I was like, oh shit, I don't know anything about Diego.
Yeah.
But no, it's like I don't know. It did feel different though because even though I feel like there's something about the way that we grew up that it was still like not just family. It was like something more than that. Like the closeness made sense because, like, for instance, like I remember Anthony had a CD. First of all, like all the art and music and movies and stuff always trickled down from Anthony. So, and that's why Ryan would get really frustrated because it was like when he was old enough to start like liking like music on his own, he was like, oh, I want to play this. And it would be like the Weezer's Green album. And we were like, Ryan, that
Come
was
on,
fucking
man.
6 years ago, dog.
Yeah, come on, get it.
Get with the
Wise up
times.
to the
That was
kid.
always also a funny phenomenon is that for whatever reason, like you guys were very into the stuff of like our childhood, like the stuff at the time, the bands, the video games. And for some reason, me and Diego were always like 5 years behind. So we'd be into what you were into 5 years ago instead of what like our generation was into.
I remember. I even sorry to cut you off.
No.
I remember. I just barely was able to get tickets to a Slipknot concert recently, and Dominic and I was only able to get Dominic to go because them two were doing their own thing at the moment, and it was like very last minute. But I remember we were waiting in line to go get merch before they performed, and I remember I forget exactly how it started, but I remember Dominic and I were talking about like our taste in music, and like I think it was I asked Dominic, I was like, did you guys ever actually listen to Slipknot? Because like I was kind of second guessing why I brought Dominic here for some reason.
You guys like Slipknot, right?
Yeah, and then he's like, yeah, we all did. Like Anthony, me, Jesse, Daniel.
Oh, it's because so here's the thing: is Diego's very different from all of us. Like he has very distinct taste in things, and so Diego is very much into metal, and that's why like I wanted to go to a Slipknot concert because I like Slipknot, and Diego was telling me about these other bands, and I was like, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be close with Diego. Nah, dude, I don't really give a shit about this.
But the thing was that Diego was like telling me about these other bands, and I was like, you know who you should talk to is Anthony, because Anthony likes metal. Like Anthony has more diverse taste in music than I do. I like Slipknot, and that's why he's like, oh, I never thought Anthony like listened to metal. I was like, yeah, he listens to a lot of everything, so he could show you. Because I was talking about punk music. I was like, I was more into punk, so I can show you like punk stuff. But if you want like metal, Anthony was into that, and so that's why. Because Diego was like, oh, I never realized like Anthony liked this stuff.
Yeah.
I never realized you were a poser, Dominic.
Yeah, and then I remember after that I was bringing up one of my friends who's like very like heavy into the punk scene. He would tell me like the music that I listened to. It was like, dude, you listen to like 45-year-old divorced dad music.
Damn.
And I was like, what? Like, dang, dude, that's kind of hurts. But then I was talking to Dominic and like everything we had just talked about, it kind of made sense. And I remember telling him, yeah, so for some reason now my taste in music is just 10 years older than it should be. I always thought that was funny because like it was based off of like what I remember you guys listening to, and ironically though, Slipknot I had avoided for like 7 years, and then I just happened upon one of their songs like, bro, this is amazing.
Slipknot rips, dog.
You guys are the literal, in real life, slow bro meme.
Slow, bro.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no, it's been cool. I think I'm glad that the reverse didn't happen, that we grew up close and then grew apart. Where it's like, because I always felt, it's like I always felt close, and I think that was the thing, was that I didn't realize it, that I guess we didn't have the closeness that I thought. Like it was like I just assumed that it was there. And then a couple times I'd be in the room with Diego, like I have nothing to say to this guy.
So you guys like,
But no,
stuff.
Yeah. But even, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak for Anthony or anyone else, but it's like I feel like as we've gotten older, we've been able to like connect more and like strengthen our relationship and our like bonds as the Reyes brothers.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think it became more clear like during the pandemic that I was always busy doing my own thing, and Dominic was a big part of that. Ryan wasn't so much, but they started to hang out, and so we were kind of hanging out, and it just dawned on me that I don't have them in my life like I used to. So that's when I decided to make a bigger effort to like try to include myself into their lives. Cause that's kind of just been my default, is just doing my own thing and, trying to do that. But,
I have a question because we can start. Do you have something to say, Ryan?
So because of the whole theme of the podcast and the whole drive for us doing this in the first place, I wanted to ask you guys, like, how does it feel to, like, what is your relationship with your Latino identity?
Yeah, I want to know that.
If you guys don't, or if I can go first.
Put the mic to your face.
Huh?
Mic
Right here.
Well, for me, like my dad hates when I use this term, but I feel like I kind of grew up as a coconut, like I'm brown on the outside, white on the inside. Ryan has a ton of memories of me just being raised, me growing up as basically a hillbilly.
What?
Not a hillbilly.
Just
I think the term you mean is
and
redneck.
whistling through one tooth.
Almost.
He was missing a lot of teeth.
want to wrestle some pigs?
It's actually funny that Diego. So the weirdest thing between the two of you was that Anthony loved the Andy Griffith theme song,
I mean,
And
it just was like so catchy.
but Diego used to just like Diego was really good at whistling when he was really little, and
it's not so
it
much
would
anymore.
just be quiet in the house, and you would just hear Diego whistling. Yeah. That's how we named our dog. We had a dog named Andy who we had. Did we find him or did we?
I
He
think
was
we
just running around
technically
We got him from the
stole
neighbor.
him.
We got him from one of the neighbors.
Well, he's running.
Oh.
Yeah, he would escape into our aunt's backyard and just run around there for a while.
Yeah. So we.
What happened?
Well, you're not on the mic, so you don't get to say. So
Save it for
anyway,
your.
We got a
episode.
dog.
We love you.
We got a dog and we didn't know what to name it, and we were. Obviously this wouldn't work like for any, but we would call it. We would like try to call him and he wouldn't come. We would whistle, he wouldn't come. We were just like trying to see. We would like yell names randomly to see if he would react to it, and nothing happened. And then Anthony just started whistling the Andy Griffith theme song, and like as soon as he heard that, he started coming. He would like respond to that whistle specifically. And we tested it out like 3 times. And then it was like anytime anybody whistled the Andy Griffith theme song, which actually kind of makes sense because if it was the neighbor's dog, like they were old, and so they probably were like
Having a
watching the Andy Griffith theme song like during the day. That was probably like feeding time or something for him.
That's so funny.
But anyway,
To wind it back a little bit.
yeah, coconut.
So for me specifically, I feel like I never really was raised as a Mexican. Really, for me, it was just like, I grew up in my environment and just like, just fitting in, whatever. This is how life is. So for me, I don't really know a ton of my background, or our ancestry, but I do have moments where I get really excited where I see representation in like movies or whatever, like in like the first Suicide Squad movie. Not my favorite movie, but then there was a moment with what was the character's name? El Diablo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like he had like this huge moment at the end of the movie, and like I remember Ryan and my mom came to go see it with me, and there was this huge transformation scene in the movie, and like I legit just like, what? And, like, I almost jumped out of my chair. I'm like, yo, that's amazing. And then, like, from that moment, there's been other moments kind of like that, but, like, now I'm trying to learn more about our ancestry a little bit, and, like, I'm actually getting my whole left side. I'm trying to get my whole left side tattooed, and it's gonna be based off. It's supposed to be based off of our dad's armband tattoo of the four of us, and it's all like Aztec tribal, and like it's supposed to have like this huge sentiment behind it. So I figured that's my way of trying to learn more about like where we come from. Yeah, I guess that's.
So
what
in
I'm
your
trying to-
adult life, you're trying to learn and embrace your
Yes.
heritage.
That's where I was trying to go for, but
I just want to clarify for anyone who didn't see Suicide Squad. The scene he's referencing, there's a character who has fire powers named El Diablo, and at the end of the movie, he transforms into like an Aztec deity. So he has like a headdress, and he's like a giant flaming skeleton. So it's like a super huge like to see our folklore, I guess.
Yeah, representation matters.
Depicted visually, and it like shows you like, oh yeah, that's like Mexican shit can be dope.
Yeah.
and like what's actually pretty interesting. I never intended for this, but I have a back piece on my left shoulder. It's supposed to connect to the rest of my arm and my front chest, but right now it's by itself. But it is exactly how it looked in the movie, where
Pretty
it's
dope.
like it's a skeleton head wearing a headdress, and it has a little bit extra that's supposed to be for my dad specifically. But like looking back on it, it was like oh, that's really cool. It's kind of coming.
Are you talking about the animal?
Which what?
Are you talking about the animal head?
Yes.
Can we tell that story? Because I think that story's really funny.
Yeah, go for it.
So it's an homage to our dad's chest tattoo that he got when he was like 17 and very drunk, and that it's his last name Reyes, and then it's supposed to be a spotted like panther, right?
So what I remember Dad saying about it was that yeah, he went to this him and his brother went into a tattoo shop one time, and asked the guy, hey, can you do a 3D print of our last name on my chest right here, and then have just like a tiger walking across it. He thought the tiger was really dope at the time, and like when my dad was first telling us how he got it, I was like in awe, because like I grew up seeing that on him. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. I want to get one like that. And then he told us the whole thing, and then he got to the part where he was like, yeah, it was actually supposed to be a tiger. It's like, oh, how come it's not a tiger? Yeah, the guy went like straight up told me, he's like, I don't know how to draw a tiger. I can black it out for you though.
When he's like halfway done with the tiger,
I'm gonna draw Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, what? Like, why did you go?
you
along
wanted
with-"
Bambi, right?
Like,
I could do a Bambi.
I remember asking him, I was like, why did you continue with the tattoos? Like, I was drunk, dude. I don't even remember actually doing this. It's like, oh, so like, the thing I looked up to my whole childhood is just a joke.
Yeah. You nerd.
So, I always thought that was hilarious to think about. But it's funny though, cause like that part of it is actually part of the tattoo. So like every piece I get onto is supposed to be like a little token of each member of my family. So that was kind of the start of it. So I'm seeing where it goes from there.
Well, yeah, if we can find a way to wrap it up, go back to that. Oh, okay. So just to continue what I was saying, the way I feel about my Latin identity, I've lived it. I grew up feeling that there's like a part of it that's missing, especially that I moved out of California. I feel like being from California, living in California is a huge, huge part of it. And I feel like there's more to deep dive into it. And I think it's important to do that. And I've kind of dedicated a lot of my free time to try to figure this out. Because there's so much. It's not just what we see in the media. I feel like there's some respectable characters, but I have always felt like Mexicans or Latinos, just the whole culture has kind of been the butt of a joke, or like the comic relief. But we're all jokesters. Like We like to laugh. We like to entertain. We're awesome entertainers. You know, we're very talented, very creative people. And our culture is very, very creative. And I feel like, you know, if we tap into those roots, that's where we can elaborate on that creativity. The deities we believed in. And there's an amazing book that I want to read. I think the author's name is Antonio Martinez. I think it's a two-parter book. It's called Where They Burned Books, and the second one's called They Also Burned People. It's about how the Catholic Church burned all but a handful of Aztec written documents that had so much detail in their culture, their architecture, their agriculture, the societal roles, and it just documented everything, and they were burned. And so that's something that I've been heavily getting into, just reconnecting those roots to the past, not just of my family, but my culture. And the next thing is learning the family history. I think that's important, like where we come from, because it changes. I think I did one of those DNA tests, and just looking at the migrational patterns was a doozy. I mean, it goes back, tens of thousands of years, but according to the migrational pattern, we've been all over the world. So, it's pretty awesome to see that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. That's like something that I remember going back to like the Eastern days to start off when Dominic and Gerardo were telling me about the premise of what Eastman was going to be. Immediately, I was like, yeah, that's something that I want to do. Like, it wasn't just that that's something I want to do as an individual, but I understood like that there is that want in the Latina community to not only like kind of re-embrace where we come from, but also like not just personal want to be a part of this, but just an understanding that want is like kind of in all of us. Like not only to re-embrace where we're coming from, but also to like have people understand that we're here in like all aspects. Like even just my mom kind of reminded us in one of the breaks, like even just like looking at us four and all this different stuff we're into, we're constantly hearing that Latinos aren't into these things, and it's like, well, but we're Latino and we're into all these things. Diego's into we're into horror movies and comedy movies. Diego's into heavy metal. Diego's into classical music, and he's also a pretty talented violinist. You guys are into photography and animation. I'm autistic. I'm into so many things, just a lot. And it's balloon making. Hire me for your parties. My mom just yelled it out for the people that can't hear.
It's a beautiful magenta poodle.
Somewhere in here. It ran away. Yeah, but so I think it's definitely an important thing, because growing up, it was a thing we weren't necessarily ignoring, but I feel like it was a thing that's not to speak for Diego, but especially me and Diego, that we were the younger ones. Like we just didn't understand until we were adults.
Yeah.
Like, I'm into comic books, and my absolute favorite heroes are Spider-Man, Batman, and Wolverine. And it didn't dawn on me until I was like 19 years old that like I've only ever seen white guys in the lead roles. I couldn't think of a Latino lead until I started finding out about them. Like they made Blue Beetle Latino, they made the new Ghost Riders Latino, and then once I started looking for them, I found like a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like Dad found one that was like from the 80s called El Magnifico, and he was like Doctor Strange but Mexican, and I thought that was super dope. It's stuff like that. So I don't know how to end that, but yeah, I'm glad we did this episode.
Yeah, thanks for coming through, guys, and thanks for...
Yeah.
I know it's always interesting when, I feel like people are interested in learning about, like, our family and who we are, and it's always a thing where, I don't know, we put ourselves in the public eye, and you guys didn't necessarily ask for this. So I appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a lot. We all try to cram it into around an hour, but there's tons and stuff.
Yeah,
tons
there's
of
like
stuff.
so much
Yeah.
more we could do.
And I feel like
Yeah.
we did this, but we always. Right now, it's like Ryan and I are the ones that are doing comedy and stuff, but I feel
Yeah.
like we all do stuff. Like, I plan on we plan on creating things together
Yeah.
more and more.
If you've made it this far, first of all, you're our new heroes because you stayed till the end. But secondly, like leave in the comment one of your favorite sibling stories. And then you guys, well, you're part of the story. Do you guys?
Can you tell the Don't Fly story, Anthony?
Yes.
Yeah, Dominic and I were youngsters. I think it was like 4 and 6, maybe.
Yeah, about.
Maybe a little bit older than that, but around that age, 7 and 7. I remember actually. And we were just always arguing. Always, it was more like, I don't know. We would play a lot. We had a great time. We grew up together. I think we were like each other's best friends. But when we would argue, it's just, sibling rivalry, I guess, just arguing and arguing and arguing. And I think our grandpa was watching, who's a very quiet man. He's very polite, very humble. You could talk to him and he'd be like, yeah, okay. Very polite guy. I forget what we were arguing about, but he comes in and he's like, don't fly. And we just look at each other like, what the heck? And we just started laughing. And then he starts laughing and he just says it again, don't fly. And we're like, okay, we won't fly away. We'll stay right here. But, I mean, that's kind of the origin story of, like, don't fly. Also, I don't know if it was implied or not, but definitely he spoke English. It's just his accent is very heavy. He's from Mexico. And he's lived in the United States for a few decades, but the retention, he just retained a heavy, heavy accent. So it was funny that he said that. Yeah.
So, from all 4 of us at Poquito, you gotta lift your finger. Don't